Hi, and welcome to Dramatic Knits. My name is Steve, also known as Dramatic Knits.
And my name is Amanda, also known as Dramatic Mandy.
And today is Sunday, March 3rd, 2019. This is episode 326. If you're a returning viewer, thanks so much for checking us out once again this week. You'll notice a new look to the podcast in our background. And if you're a new viewer, thanks for giving us a shot, and hopefully you'll enjoy the podcast and you'll come back in the future. So, forewarning, you may hear dogs barking. You may also hear dyeing and water running in the background. So, we are recording from our new dye studio, just a few blocks down from our home, which is where the old Dramatic Knit studio was. And we're kind of in the little alcove I've set up for office desk printing, that kind of stuff. So, but Andy is just a few feet away, working in the back room, dyeing some yarn, getting his last batch going before he goes home. And the dogs are chilling up in the front window of the shop front, and they like to announce their presence to anybody who walks by. And you can imagine what a dog's brain is probably saying to those people as they walk by. So, anyway, that being said, if you're wearing headphones, just be aware of that. And but we are coming to you from our new location, and this is how life rolls in the new studio: dogs and dying. So, anyway, how you been? Pretty good.
Well, now.
It's been about 3 weeks since we've podcasted, and some of you may have been waiting for the question and answer Podiversary episode, and unfortunately Amanda got sick 2 weeks ago when we were supposed to record, and she couldn't really record or didn't really want to record the one day we had to do it. So what we've decided to do is we are going to bring one question in per episode, and we'll just bring it in as a new section called Inside the Knitter's Studio. So like inside the actor's studio where they, get interviewed and questions. So there is a thread up in our Ravelry group for questions and answers Q&A episode. Feel free to go on over there and post questions whenever your heart desires, and we will check them off as we go through the list. So we have a question to answer today. Amanda doesn't know about it because she didn't look at the show notes, but that's okay. So
I know we were doing that. I just don't know what the question is. I'll be surprised.
very true. All right, so let's get into the past 3 weeks. So a little bit after we recorded last episode, we had the Knitting Pipeline Retreat, which was very good, but yet a little saddening because Paula of Knitting Pipeline, as if you follow her podcast or her Instagram, she is battling ovarian cancer right now, and she is being a strong warrior in that battle, and has a very positive outlook. But unfortunately, due to her chemo and other things, she was not able to be in attendance due to the large number of people and germs and that kind of stuff. So people got to FaceTime with her, but Bronwyn and Sarah and their assistant did a very good job of hosting the retreat. It was very laid back, very chill, and I got to hang out with some friends, local and not so local, and that was a really good time. And Amanda got to join us, but she wasn't feeling so well. She came down with something right before the pipeline retreat.
It was rough. I was taking shots of Dayquil. I was like, please excuse me.
But she didn't want to stay home. I offered for her to stay home, and she's like, no. But I think she had fun, whether she wants to admit it or not. I think she had a good time, other than being sick, of course. So we stayed at the fancy Super 8, and it was fine.
It was live PD night, so it was pretty great regardless.
Well, for her.
He enjoyed it.
I knit. But yeah, so then we did Knitting Pipeline on Friday and Saturday. We came back on Saturday, and the week prior, right after we recorded, we closed on the building the next day. I'm sorry, it's been so forever. So we closed on the building. That was interesting because the lady we bought the studio from, even though she had been reminded many a times by us and the bank, thought it was on Tuesday. So we were sitting there for about 10-15 minutes before they called her, and then we had to wait on her husband, and then they still had some stuff in here, so they were still moving things out as we were moving in on Monday. But it was interesting trying to get the lay of the land and how we wanted to work the new studio. So we spent some time Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday kind of getting that set up and starting to dye yarn in here and getting things figured out. So the retreat was then Friday and Saturday. And then early Sunday morning, Andy and I left for Santa Clara, California, which is about a 36-hour drive from central Illinois, where we're at. And it took us 3 days to get out there, which is like 3 12-hour days. And it was a long time, but it's cool to see the country. And it was a much more enjoyable and relaxing drive than it was last year when I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So the drive out there was pretty uneventful. We arrived on just outside of Santa Clara, about an hour and 20 minutes. And we stayed, we arrived Tuesday night, and we stayed at Hotel Mission Dale Oro, which is in, I forgot where it's at. But like I said, it was about an hour away, and it was really cool. It's a renovated mission that they built in the 1970s. A lot of missions in California are much older than that. But it had like a bell tower and several buildings, and they had just remodeled the building that we were in. You can tell they're putting a lot of money and energy into it. At a beautiful courtyard. So it was interesting to stay there and kind of get a lay of the land. We woke up Wednesday, which was setup day, and we had a nice breakfast at the hotel. Took our time rolling in, and we set up for stitches. We took all day on Wednesday till like 6 o'clock when we had to get out of there. And then all day on Thursday. Like, I don't know what took us so long, but we were taking our time. And then the market preview was on Thursday, and the show was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And thank you to everyone who came out and visited us at Stitches West 2019. It was a good event for us. Unfortunately, not as good as the year previously. So we have made the executive decision that we will not be returning to Stitches West in 2020, but we are going to give a year of rest to Stitches West and return hopefully in 2021. It is just a very, very long trip for us to be away from the business and away from our dogs and our family. And while the event was successful for us, it needs to be of a certain amount of success to really make it worthwhile on the, not just money, but the moral side of it too. So we're going to give it a little bit of a break, but we hope to return to Stitches West again in 2 years. So to all my friends that I see out there, I'm so sorry. Hopefully we can run into each other at other events, but Andy and I had a long, hard discussion on the way back, and we just needed to do what was right for us and the business. So we drove then back 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The last day, Wednesday, there was a bit of ice in Oklahoma. We were leaving from Elk City, and the highway was closed down not once, but twice, so we had to get off and detour. And that was interesting, but we did make it home on Wednesday night like we had planned. We got home around 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then we were in the studio early Thursday morning and dyeing yarn and prepping, and then Friday we worked, and Friday afternoon we hit the road to head to Iowa City, and we vended at Shepherd's Market. It was the second time we'd been there, but we hadn't been there for the past 3 years. So last year there was a scheduling conflict, and the year prior we were signed up, but unfortunately that, if you were a longtime viewer, was when I came down with kidney stones, and we attempted to go out there, and about 15 minutes away from home, I had another attack of the kidney stone, and Andy was like, no, you're not going. We're going to turn around and go back. So we had to cancel. That was the one and only time we had to cancel an event, but so it was a really great event. Thank you to everyone who came out to Iowa. There was about 8 vendors. It was not a huge market, but it was a really good time. It was well attended, and I think people had an enjoyable experience there. So we look forward to hopefully returning back there in next March. But yeah, so now we're back in the studio, and is it just me or is it getting a little steamy? He must be taking some pans out of the studio, and there's no fan in the front room, so I was like, we need a fan, but there's a drop ceiling, so that doesn't work. So we might have to get some stand-up fans in here, just because all the steam. And it's like 30-something degrees out. There's snow in this morning.
It's like a free facial.
Whatever. I'm steamy in here. All right. So that's kind of been the rundown of my past 3 weeks. Andy, unfortunately, is not feeling the best. He had to go to the doctor on Friday before we left out of town and got some meds. While a strep test came back negative, they were like, let's just put you on meds just in case. So He's been on meds for that, but having trouble sleeping and things like that. So I think that's all that I really wanted to cover in terms of the past 3 weeks. It's been a whirlwind. It's been a little crazy. But I gotta tell you, Amanda worked in the studio the whole almost 2 weeks we were gone, and she has got this place functioning very well and cleaned spick and span from top to bottom.
Well, it was until they stepped in the door.
Well, it's a functioning studio. It'll give you stuff to clean next time we leave out of town. So what have you been up to the past 3 weeks, other than being sick?
Well, I was sick for the first week, pretty bad. Once we got back from the retreat, it got even worse. Luckily, I had Sunday to just kind of stay in bed with the dogs and chug Dayquil, but it was pretty bad, but got through it. And I spent my entire life here, basically. Had a little bit of like rescanning and stuff to do, but then I just kind of went at it, and I just wanted to sanitize everything, like literally everything. Bleach everywhere.
If you're new to the podcast or you missed last episode, the building we bought actually was a dog groomer's, so it is actually really well set up for our needs in terms of like the back room where they wash the dogs has the huge sinks, which is what we need, and then there's a separate area where they groom the dogs. That's where Amanda works, and then there's a whole storefront that is where storage and my office, where we're at right now, is the storefront section. So. But yeah, they had been here for the past 17 years, so
yeah.
She really helped sanitize the place and get it.
And not saying that it was like disgustingly
dirty.
No,
they did a decent job of cleaning up out before they moved.
Right, but anywhere, like even in your house, if you look closely, dust and everything piles up and dirt and so it was gross. Like they left us a like real mop bucket, like one of those,
like an industrial one.
And I had to bleach that thing before I could even. I get it from our mom, kind of like I don't love cleaning, but like I like things to be clean, if that makes sense. So, but did that to the point where my hands were so tired, I went home and did nothing. So there's not much to show on my end. Luckily, he has stuff. But, yeah, I would go home and just chill with the dogs and, like, yeah, I need to rest. Because I didn't even realize it. We have a mop that you, like, turn this, like, handle to squeeze it out. And I didn't realize I must have been using it all day. And I went home with, like, calluses on my hands. It was, like, But I was very satisfied. And I wanted everything to look great for when they walked in.
She'd be sending me update photos. She's like, here, I washed the windows.
Yes.
Just in case, because they won't be this clean when you get back.
It took me a good 2 hours to clean all of the windows because I cleaned all the trim and everything. And I was like, dang it, I didn't take a picture of it when it was dirty because I wanted to prove it to him because I was like, it's not going to stay that way. But, yeah.
Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of weeks since we moved in. We've been, even though we have a sign on the door, it doesn't say closed. We need like an official close sign. I do have a little statement that says we're an active dye studio and we are not open to the public. And we lock the door about half the time, but half the time it's not locked and people just come in and
that reminds me of a scary experience I had. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Okay, well, go ahead. It was a scary reminder.
Yeah, because I came in here on Monday and the creepy basement door was open and I did not leave it open and I got scared. I didn't know what to do. We have a police station that's like literally across the street basically. But I was like, what do? I don't want to be ridiculous and call the cops. I know my mom is like not feeling well and she's asleep. I grabbed the dogs because I didn't want the dogs to get hurt by some, weird thing. So I go outside, I lock the door, and I call him. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be brave and go downstairs and check it out. But I want someone on the phone in case I die so they could call the cops, Or I could, like, if there's an intruder, I can explain who it is on the phone so you could catch him if I die. There's too much true crime in my head at all times. But no one was down there, so I'm thinking it was the wind because 100% I did not leave that door open. but I don't know. There might be a ghost. So
Well, and she said the light was on too, and she was sure the light was off.
I will admit I could have left that on, but there's no way, because it's obvious, because the door was wide open, it would be obvious if I left it open, which I know I wouldn't have, because I went in there to get a step stool and it creeps me out, so I close it. So I could have left the light on. I don't believe I did, but I could have. Now 100% I did not leave that door open.
However, the front door is directly,
There's
several hundred feet,
There's an
but it's
obstacle.
directly in front of the basement door. So she could have left and the wind gust could have opened it. But the basement is creepy, but it's not that bad. And it's a big expanse, and it
But
runs,
when you're
it's the whole size of the building itself. So, but it is what it is. So, it's just a new building. So she calls me while I'm having breakfast. It was probably almost 11 here, but it was like 9 o'clock. I'm eating McDonald's, and I'm like, you all right? I'm stuffing my face.
Well,
So
I think it was a smart decision on my part if something would have
it was smart. No, and you were fine. But yeah, so we've had random visitors stop by. We've had the newspaper come by. We've had people from some sort of third-party Google services want to come over and do like Google Business Map View stuff, and who else have we had come by?
I had some creepy townies. I mean, nice, wonderful people. See, when I'm here alone, I lock that door because people, I'll see them, I'll peek through, and I'll see people walk up because you can hear the dogs like screaming at them, right? Because the closer they get, the louder they get, and I'll constantly hear the door, like people are trying to walk in, and I'm just like, not today.
Not today, Satan. But no, we actually have a meeting with the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce on Tuesday, which the three things she wants to discuss. One is just a weekend they're closing the town square, which is what we're on for. But they want to offer a ribbon cutting ceremony. Don't think we're going to take that up.
Why not?
Because we're not an actual store.
So?
But then they also wanted to talk to us about joining the chamber or something.
They want those donations.
Oh, and the other thing we got contacted via Facebook while we were gone is the local library wants us to bring some of our samples in for an artwork display that they're doing. So
the library is really pretty, though.
It is a pretty library. So we are going to be making that happen with some of our old samples here in the next couple of weeks. But that's enough about the studio in our past 2 weeks. You all want to see and yarn and knitting and accoutrement and stuff. So let's get into what is taking a bow. What have we finished? I have been a busy bee on the road, and I finished 3 things since we've last spoke. So the first thing I finished finally, because it was supposed to be done at the end of December, and this is, the beginning of March, but it's done now, and it's been sampling around the country, is my Paulette by Jen Lucas, and this is knit out of Leading Men Fiber Arts Showcase, which is being discontinued. However, we do have kits available online and in our booth that do feature the showcase base, what it was designed in. And this speckled color is Pretty Petals, and the purple is Heliotrope. So one of the kit options is this. The other kit option is the combo that Jen designed it in. So it's a nice...
I have one too.
Nice shawl with some stripes and lace. And
with my shirt.
I worked with somebody at Stitches, and this would actually be a really good... introduction to lace and shawl. Like, I don't think the lace was not hard at all, and it's 2 repeats of an 18-row chart, and the stripes, while not just mindless stripes, they're pretty easy, and they're done in garters. So yeah, Paulette is done. This was knit on a size 5 US, which is a 3.75 millimeter needle, and I'm glad to have it off the needles and as a shop sample for a little while until we sell out of our patterns and our kits. So there we go. So that's the first thing. All right. Next up for me is my Weekender by Andrea Mowry. So when we left for Stitches, I had both sleeves to do. I finished joining the sleeves at Pipeline, so you haven't seen it since it's been joined together. And the whole drive to stitches and the evening before the market preview, I finished the sleeves and got everything done. And it's been getting a lot of attention on the road. And we came back and Amanda tried it on. And while she doesn't like the neckline, I do think it looks really nice on her. However, she was not feeling the greatest. And so we haven't done official photos yet. I have a lot of photos I have to take of finished objects recently, but this is the Weekender, knit out of Leading Men Fiber Arts West End, which is our new non-superwash worsted weight. Oh, so nice. I'm not just saying that because it's my yarn, but oh, you know why? Because Andy like pulled it off the mannequin inside out because it was the velvet mannequin. So thank you. But it's our non-superwash worsted, so it can't be thrown in the wash, but what's really nice and why I had a lot of questions about why non-superwash is because when you knit a garment or you knit something that has a significant amount of weight to the yarn, with superwash, when you wet block it and or wear it for an entirety of a day, it can stretch out because superwash yarn does not have scales on it, and so there's nothing to kind of keep it in place. The non-superwash has not removed those scales, so it is able to grab onto itself and keep its shape even when you block it and or wear it. So here it is in all of its glory. Hopefully you hear Corn Dog kind of half barking. Hopefully somebody doesn't walk this way. The square is relatively dead on Sunday, but especially since there's a little diner a couple doors down, which we tried the other day, like literally 50 feet, I don't know, 200 feet. But they are only open on the weekends for the breakfast. So, but here's the Weekender.
You want me to try it on?
Well, that's up to you. We kind of moved back to where you can't stand up, so. But it was a lot of fun to knit, and I did a weird join on one of the sleeves, and then I had to pull it back out and kind of fix it a little bit better. But yeah, it still has that little bit of cropped look on her, but the sleeves are actually long. So I was like, okay, because I thought the sleeves were done pretty short, but yeah, I think it's a good color with her dark hair, and
Kinda.
so you can kind of see it there.
This is cute.
So this has the ribbing detail, and then it has an exposed 3-needle bind off. You have the faux seam, because again, you knit this inside out. So this is all done with a slip stitch every other row, and you do a tubular cast on, and I guess a tubular bind off is just Kitchenering, not together, but Kitchenering the knits and purls and ribbings. So that's how you bound off, and I think it's going to be a nice snuggly sweater for her once it's done with being a shop sample.
I just can't get over how soft it is. I just always think that it's not going to be soft.
Right, and a lot of people do. Because it's still 100% merino, it still has the softness of merino, but yeah, it has a split hem at the bottom. But a lot of people think, ooh, I want a rustic wool. I want something that's going to keep its shape. It's going to be great for steeking and color work. Well, this can do this, but it's not. It doesn't have as much tooth to it as some of those rustic wools can. It still is very soft. So.
It's very comfy.
Yeah.
And this color is gorgeous.
So this was knit again out of West End in the Bent Neck Lady colorway on sizes 7 through 9 US, which is a 4.5 through 5.5 millimeter needle. So
too warm to keep it on.
While I've gotten done with the steaminess, I think that's dissipated a little bit. It's still, So, that's number 2. And I had to make sure to grab those 2 things out of the sample tub because they've actually been on the road with us. The last thing I finished on the way back from California is my Stripe Study by Vera Valimaki, and I've been knitting on this for a little bit. This is knit out of the Yarnies of Texas, 70% merino, 30% silk, single ply in the Austin City Limits colorway that was generously gifted to me at Stitches, Texas, over a year and a half ago now. And the gray is Hedgehog Fibers sock in the crystal colorway, knit on a size 6 US, which is a 4 millimeter needle. And the Stripe Study is done with short rows to give you a very narrow short side, and then you go over here and you have this much longer side over here. So I actually really like this. I love this color combo, and can you see the subtlety of the rainbow there in that single ply? Man, she did a really good job dyeing that. So it's a little interesting to wear, and I did actually, believe it or not, even though it's curved right there, I did block it so that the spine was straight. Not sure what happened, but yeah. So you can kind of do something like this, and then you just zhuzh it a little, and you zhuzh gabor it, and you're just fancy. Yeah, I went there.
Can you just stay that way?
Yeah.
No, I mean like
Fancy?
the whole act. I love it. Do that for the retreat. Come out, people that don't know him, they're gonna be like,
Hello. So I finished this.
this is his director persona.
So several things off the needles, and I am ready to focus on some other things. I've gotten some progress on them, but I am going to cast something on Tuesday when we go to knitting. But I'll talk about that in just a little bit. What did you finish?
Half of a project.
So she has a hoe. We both have hoes. Hoes run in the family.
I'm gonna pretend like that didn't just happen.
A hoe is a knitting term.
Got it.
Half object. So we're going to move into what's actually performing because she doesn't have anything actually finished.
This is finished.
It's only one. It's not a pair. In my mind, that's not finished.
What if, like that dude that had a hook for a hand only has 1 foot, then it's finished for someone with 1 foot, okay? I think it's finished. But fine. We'll wait.
Since that elephant has now entered the room, there is a rando dude in our town.
I'm sure he's very nice.
He's probably a very nice gentleman. He was very nice to me when I went out to the van to get the samples. But he is a very tall man with long hair and a trench coat and combat boots and a hook for a hand.
You look like the Candy Man.
I'm not sure if it's real. I just putting that out there. But anyway, so he was talking to himself when I left or walked out of the building, and he said good morning to me, and then or good afternoon, and then said it was a lovely day for a walk, even though it had snowed like a couple of inches this morning. But then he proceeded to talk to the dogs through the window and then gallop through the snow down the alley, a couple doors down. So that's the reference she was making. But so let's move into what's performing. We're gonna let Amanda go first, and she's gonna show you her hoe.
Okay, because I'm excited about this. I don't know why.
She's very excited
Because I never wanted to do socks, but where was I when you saw it? Like this far in, maybe? Like not that far in. So when we were...
she said she didn't do anything.
But I feel like
I mean,
I didn't, because I didn't really pay attention to any other projects besides this. That's the reason why I struggled doing multiple things, and not just knitting things, but
I get it.
in all crafts, because if I get excited about one thing, that's all I want to do. But I try. So at the Knitting Pipeline retreat, I was working through it, and I felt like I needed his help. And he helped me with the turning of the heel. I think that's the proper term. Mm-hmm. And then I was nervous because he was going to California. And I was like, I can't knit on my sock because I'm not going to know how to do it. But I managed to...
have some self-confidence.
Yes. And I went on YouTube and I needed it for... Now I don't remember. Like the joining... I don't know.
New yarn?
No, this part.
Oh, picking up the gusset stitches.
There we go. So I kind of needed it for that, but once that was done, I did it all on my own. And I was very into, except the Kitchener stitch. I learned how to do that today. But there's a lot of mistakes.
She came into the studio and watched a YouTube video.
Yeah.
And when I tried to tell her, she's like, I gotta watch it. All right.
So there are a lot of mistakes, but I'm actually okay with that because it's my first sock and I'm just excited that I did it. And so this is it. It's out of Knitted Wit Victory Sock in the colorway Witch's Brew. That's this. And so there it is. And I'm pretty sure it fits my foot. I tried it on. I thought this part was really cool. So like on the other side of the heel, it kind of did this like little stripy section. I thought that was kind of cool, of all like green, yellow.
So if you've never knit socks, when you do a traditional heel flap, like, and then turn the heel, you pick up stitches along the gusset, which causes you to have more stitches than you have on the leg or the foot, which changes variegated yarn. And so that's why it changed the pooling and flashing right here, because the stitch count is much larger than it is on the leg or in the foot. And that's why it went back to doing what it was doing as she decreased down. So this is actually called your instep, the top of your foot, which always confused me because I would think it'd be like the inside, like the side, inner side of your foot, the instep, but you have the sole and the instep.
Yeah, so it's cool. And
she learned how to fancy Kitchener and like tighten it up and make it look real pretty. Like I feel like I did when I first learned to Kitchener. Mine doesn't look that nice anymore. So I was like, you can do all my Kitchenering now if you want.
No, I got very tense. When I do new things, I tense up, but I'm sorry. I'm excited. I did a sock.
I'm sorry if we're leaning in and or more hands are up. We have a big table, our shipping table I moved over, and I'm really excited that we can have stuff laid out. I was not so excited to pack up everything to bring here out of my craft room, but now I know what Callie and Amanda have to deal with, so it's all right. Yeah, we have the table to lean on and get a little closer and say, hey, how's it going? Anyway, is that all you're working on?
Oh, no. I was just excited about this. I completely forgot.
And what size needles are you using on that?
1.5.
Mm-hmm. Which is a 2.5 millimeter.
Yes. So I haven't worked on this at all yet. Well, I mean, in the past 3 weeks. But this is my adventure scarf.
There you go.
Sorry.
I know that can be a pet peeve of people wearing headphones.
So there's that. Now I gotta get back to that. I know I said I was going to do some swatches. That didn't occur. So I have been looking at my, I'll talk about it later because that's like what I'm going to do. But
Speaking of which, we need to grab one of the new colorways. Not right now, but when we get there, I forgot to grab a skein. All right, so what have I been working on? Well, first for me is my adventurer wrap. So I'm doing the wrap version and giving her the leftovers, and she's doing the scarf. And I'm using Leading Men Fiber Arts Showstopper mini skeins in the collection I put together called It's Not an Advent mini skein collection. And this was 2018's. I am going to do one, I think, every year now. But there's so many Advent calendar projects that look awesome that use 24 or 25 mini skeins that I think I'm going to put a collection together, but you will know what it looks like and it won't be a mystery and you can just have it in one go bang rather than, half the people like aren't good about keeping. They just open them all. So, but anyway, so we'll see what next year's brings. But I am clicking needles. And so I'm already to the yellow, and I'm about to join in the first little orange, our papaya colorway. But you can see the soft pinks and the browns into the greens. I do have ends to weave in, but I am woven in all the way up to here. So I've woven all these up.
Oh, that's so pretty. I haven't seen that yet.
So I can't wait to... because we're going to have 2 samples, Amanda's and mine. This will be probably traveling, but then I'm going to hang the scarf like along the shop window. I have some ideas on how I'm going to hang different samples from the top portion. We already have some mannequins up there and things, as well as the dogs. That's where they spend most of their day in the sun up there. But I'm going to hang, and it's going to be really, really, really cute, I think. So I have some ideas, but... So yeah, that's that. This is knit on a size 5 US which is the 3.75 millimeter needle. I would say I'm probably about 3/4 of the way done, but I worked on this one going to Iowa this past weekend, so there's that. All right, next for me is my Socks on a Plane by Laura Linneman. These are loosely based on that pattern. Really all I did was take the cable panel and run it down the sock. Last time we spoke, I was not done with the first sock. However, I have a hoe as well.
They're so cute.
So the main color is Ethereal Fibers Nebula Sock in the Natural History Nudie Run colorway. And then the heel and toes are Leading Men Fiber Arts Showstopper Intermission in the Sandcastle colorway. And so the first one you can see here, I have the cable on the right side. Is that as you're looking at it?
Yeah.
I think. Well, no, this is flipped. So it's on this side. And I finished the sock, I finished the toe up, and I cast on the last day driving home from California, I cast on for the second. And I have flipped where the cable is, and I've also flipped the direction of the cable. So there's that. And I'm doing 72 stitches on a size 1 US, which is a 2.25 millimeter needle. So those are going splendiferously. They just need a little more love and time, but they'll
I
get
just
there.
think it's so cute. I might have to try cabling.
All right, and then last for me, I'm not showing the granny square blanket because I haven't been home to work on it, is my Make Your Own Luck shawl, and I'm doing this as a knit along with some of the boys from California / Vegas. But the California boys, there's a group of us that see each other at Stitches, SoCal, and then West. And while Izzy, calling you out, Izzy, my friend, you are not knitting this with us, and Will may be ripping his out and potentially casting on a new one. I will say that Rafa and I are actually doing the knit along, and he is farther along than I am. However, I did give this some love, and this is by Lisa Ross, Make Your Own Luck. And I'm using Leading Men Fiber Arts Showstopper in Darkest Hour, and then Black Cat Nomad Sock Gradient in the Melancholia colorway. And so I'm here with this beautiful teal speckle color, and I've added on the bright green and the yellow and the orange and the red and the magenta and the purple. So I'm past the halfway point. I now just keep the same amount of stitches, and you can even see down here where that's the top. Down here, you can see where I stopped doing the increasing down there, and it comes to a point. So this side will now come up, and I'm excited. So yay! It's a moody one compared to the original, but it is beautiful. So I'm still working on that, and that's going swimmingly, and I'm using my Whimsy Stitches bag that came in our year in review kits. There will be some in the shop. I think we are down to 5 kits left, and then they're gone. They've gone on the road with us, and they've been selling a little bit here or there, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, that's the Make Your Own Luck. That's all that I have been working on the past few weeks, but I've been finishing a lot of things. So, all right. Moving right along, the nice thing is, too, we can have our show notes not right in front of you, and she can look at them as well. In rehearsal, what are we going to cast on? Like I said, I'm trying to focus on getting these things done so I can get some new things on the needles. However, I do like to have something with to knit on at my local yarn store that with yarn that I bought there. And while she is plenty okay with me knitting with my own stuff there because she does sell it, I do like to support her, and I have yarn that I bought from the shop. And so what I'm going to be casting on is a boomerang out of some, oh shocker, Leading Men Fiber Arts Darkest Hour, because I'm using that in all the places. But then I also picked up during our hand-dyed holiday at the beginning of December some Stitch Together Stitch Cloud, which is a 72% kid mohair, 28% silk 459 yards and 50 grams in the Devil's Lettuce colorway. And so I'm going to do a boomerang holding these two together, a simple garter stitch boomerang, and I'm going to let the mohair do the speaking in that. And I'm doing this as a class sample, or the start of a class sample, for the class that I am teaching at Pittsburgh Knit and Crochet Festival in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, here over St. Patty's Day weekend. So just in less than 2 short weeks, we will be in Pittsburgh, and I am teaching a class out there. If you are interested in taking the class, there are still plenty of seats available. You can go on to just Google search Pittsburgh Knit and Crochet Festival. You will find their webpage, and you can sign up for classes there, or you can sign up on site. And there's no discount for signing up on site. However, they have allowed me to tell you that each and every class you take, you will get a free gift. So if you take 7 classes over the weekend, you get 7 free gifts. So that's exciting. But I wanted to kind of show different variations. So I have a couple different boomerangs that I'll be bringing to show as some options. But I'm excited to see how this knits up holding these together. So I'm going to be balling these up before I go home tonight.
Have you knit with mohair before?
I have not. I've knit with lace weight, but I have not knit with this kind of mohair before.
It feels like hair.
Yeah, we've had a lot of requests to bring it in. We will not. That's just not on our bucket list of things of yarn bases. There are plenty of very talented dyers out there, and just not something we want to do. But I have purchased, this is the second skein I purchased. I did purchase a skein from Casual Fashion Queen at Stitches Midwest last year to do a Birds of a Feather kit. So this will be the first time working with it though. So I figured before I do knit with it by itself in the Birds of a Feather, I can knit with it holding it with the fingering weight just to kind of get a feel for it. Is there anything you have in the wings waiting to be cast on?
I keep staring at my Hue Shift Afghan. I opened it up again. I read the pattern again. I definitely want to. It's just, I get it one stitch at a time. Yeah, so we'll see.
I think you're just also a little put off too, because I'm like, I've never done it or done something like it. So
well, I get the mitered square. I can do that. It's putting them together. It's just, I think the pattern's a little confusing for me to like decipher of how things go, like the way it needs to be. Because now I've technically picked up stitches. I did it with the sock, but I guess just like
there might be some videos out there too that don't give you the pattern but kind of help with the construction.
I kind of tried to look one day and then I went down a Ravelry like rabbit hole, and
we've all been there.
Yeah. And I also, so I have no idea what it is I want to do, but I have these 2 skeins of worsted weight yarn, just like stuff that you could buy at Walmart or whatever, and I bought them to make a hat, but I don't want to make a hat anymore, but I really want to utilize them. They're 2 different, I don't have them, but there's like a, what's the word? Like plain color.
Semi-solid?
There
solid.
we go. And like a variegated one. And I want to do something with them, but I don't really know what. And I tried looking on Ravelry and everything's like hats. I'm like, I don't want to, so I don't know. I'm trying to find a pattern for that. But.
Ooh, actually, remind me when you're done. I'll show you a pattern I did that's a cowl and it's 2 colors. It's a solid and a variegated. I did it with some fiber nymph years ago with some Apple Festival colorways. It was really cool fall one. So, all right. So behind the scenes, my spinning. I did bring my finished 2 ounces just to remind you I am spinning some Leading Men Fiber Arts Super Sock in the Mother Earth colorway. The reason why I have this is because we only actually had 4 ounces of it, which is usually our put up, but with Super Sock we were doing 6 to make sure that you had enough yardage for a pair of socks. However, so I'm spinning this. I'm trying to do it a little thicker. I'm about 2/3 of the way done with the second 2 ounces, but again, I've been gone, so I haven't been spinning much. So there's that on my AcreWorks bobbins that I love, using my Hanson e-spinner mini. So I'm working on that. So let's move into the scene shop. What else are we working on in the terms of crafting? First for me, I am getting a little bit closer to a finish, hopefully here in the next episode or two. My Dimensions kit cross-stitching will be done. It is the In the Moment kit put out by Dimensions. However, I did switch out the 14 count Ada for some 28 count even weave, and I'm doing 2/2 or over 2, depending on what it calls for. So as you can see, I'm almost done with the live, and then I just have the little bit of accoutrement stitching up at the top, and then this baby's done, and I can iron it and find out where I can go get it framed or try to do it myself. I just got to find the right frame. So that's going with smooth. That's going swimmingly.
You've said that quite a few times today.
Swimmingly?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm. At least 2 or 3.
Maybe I feel like I'm underwater. Just trying to doggy paddle and stay afloat. All right, so weaving. I did kind of warp my loom. I'm about halfway. So I did the whole walking back and forth on the peg hook warping, and I cut it off, or cut the strings and wound it. Now I need to go through and actually separate the two on the heddle. I don't know. But I did bring my yarns, so I decided I want to do another lace weight yarn scarf, and I picked out some color combos and had Mandy help me select. So for the warp, I'm using some Mana Mystery Ghost Light, again Leading Man Fiber Arts lace weight, and it's our Ghost Light base. Again, being discontinued, but it is up in the shop until it is gone. So if you want to weave along with me or get out your hands on some Ghost Light before I use it all in weaving, check out the shop. There's going to be more added here shortly that was in booth stock. And what I'm going to actually weave with is Imperfection. So I thought this would be a really cool stark contrast. So there's that. So I get to work on that here in the near future. And I'm using my size 12 reed for that, which is really good for lace weight. That's what I used for my last lace weight one. Over to you, Amanda. What are you working on?
Nothing. I haven't. Still got my colorful cow going. My cross stitch. Haven't touched it. I feel bad. And haven't touched my painting. I'm doing a paint by number. It's called the Old Farmhouse. My friend that I'm doing it with, we were texting yesterday. She's like, "Have you painted anymore?" And I'm like, "No." Gotta get on it, I know, but yeah. So that's it.
All right, so let's move into In the Spotlight. What are we watching and reading? I'm not going to go over anything. In fact, I'm just going to leave the show notes from last week. But all the shows I was watching before, I haven't been watching because I've been on the road. So hopefully tonight, Andy and I will actually be able to sit down and watch an episode of something together. And I have not finished any books. I really haven't listened to the one I downloaded because it's outside my normal wheelhouse. So it hasn't been catching my interest completely. And in fact, when I have my headphones on, a lot of times I'm just jamming out to some music. So that's been nice to just kind of not have to think or follow a story and just have music going on. So that's it for me.
Just my typical shows. Grey's Anatomy is amazing. Million Little Things amazing. My Thursday, just cry central. But Live PD, pretty awesome. Got to watch with the dogs. A lot of fun. Because sometimes they'll hear the sirens, or there's a lot of canines in the show, and they'll be barking, and you'll see Corny go, "What? Where?" It's really cute.
Speaking of Live PD, I totally forgot to mention.
Oh, yeah.
Our second day of driving back while in the middle of the desert in Arizona, we had a little issue where we got pulled over. I have not been pulled over in over a decade. When I got pulled over, it was in Missouri, driving to Oklahoma for a job interview for the same reason that we were pulled over this time, which was following distance which is basically, and I was kind of snarky with the cop when he said what he was pulling us over for, which, by the way, the Arizona Highway Patrolman was like 12. And he was like, oh, yeah. And he's like, well, can I ask you what you're pulling us over for, sir? And he's like, you're following distance. And I was like, oh, this again, which is basically you're driving a van, because I used to drive a minivan. And so out-of-state plates with a larger vehicle, young gentlemen, they just want to know what you're doing, and they want a reason to question you. And so he asked Andy to get out of the car, and he gave him a warning. But basically what had happened, and the cop was the most sporadic driver of everyone, believe it or not. But I guess this one car, this Mustang filled with teenagers, was leapfrogging Andy and would keep, speeding up and getting in front of him and then slowing down and then speed. So finally, they leapfrogged him for a third time, and as they did it, they saw the cop waiting under an underpass, right at beside the underpass. So they slowed down even quicker than they normally did, and they were behind a truck. So then Andy got over in the left-hand lane to avoid them. Well, then the truck in front of the Mustang was slowing down and getting off the highway, and the Mustang was slowing down, and then the cop pulled up, started to pull out, and Andy goes, oh, they're going to get caught, da-da-da. And he completely thought it was going to be the Mustang that got pulled over. So Andy gets back over into the right-hand lane, and then the cop gets behind us enough to run our plates. And that's when the truck got off. So then Andy got in the left-hand lane. The cop was in front of us. The cop then braked in front of us, which decreased our following distance because he was then going like 60 to 65 in a 75 mile per hour highway in the left-hand lane. So then Andy pulled into the right lane and passed him, doing 75. And then he pulled us over. Anyway, needless to say, he got a warning. We did not get a ticket. It was fine. It was 10 minutes, done and gone. And we were more worried that he was going to want to search the vehicle that was jam-packed with yarn as well as furniture we were gifted. And everything was like shoved in there in a way we didn't even know how we got it to fit. So we were more worried about that. But we were back on our way. I was just a little perturbed by that. So, and based on Instagram, because I did take a sneaky shot of Andy talking to the cop, and based on Instagram's reaction, it seems Arizona is known for allowing drivers to speed all the time. They're more known for pulling over out-of-state people than for actually monitoring driving conditions.
Well, I yelled at Andrew on Instagram because he had his hands in his pockets. Live PD rule number 1.
It's not like he was being,
It's
questioned, but anyway. All right, let's move into stash enhancement. Y'all, I am 3 for 3 out of events that we have done this year in show season for not buying anything. So I did not get anything in pipeline. I was good. I'm really at the place where I'm like, I have plenty of things that I want to knit with out of my stash. Stitches West, not a thing did I buy. Wasn't even really tempted for the most part. There was one thing that I was interested in, and the kit did not sell me, but the pattern was cool. Actually, somebody bought a pattern at another booth and then came over to us to get the yarn. And I liked the pattern. But I'm going to be a little honest here. I walked the entire Stitches floor. I did not go into every booth, but I did walk the entire floor. I did go into plenty of booths. The only booth to address me was the hand cream booth that accosts everyone in the aisle. And they even offered to rub down my feet, which was a little weird. But every booth I walked into, not a single person welcomed me or said hi. And that really perturbs me. That is the quickest way for you to lose my sale is, I don't even care if you say something to me. I understand if you're talking to somebody, but an acknowledgement, a wave of the head, a smile, something. So I went to this other booth to look at the pattern and see if they had the kits, and they had a kit for it. I thought it was, a little more money than I wanted to spend, and there was not enough yarn of what you needed because I had just helped this lady get yarn. So needless to say, there was 2 people working in this booth, and there were 2 ladies looking at sweater patterns and then myself. We were looking in this, we're in the corner, and a lady came up, one of the workers of this company, which we do a lot of shows with this company. Lady came up to the two women and said, "Oh, I see you're looking at sweaters, da 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 da. Is there anything I can help you with?" Chats them up for about 30, 45 seconds, and then just completely dismisses me, turns the other way, and walks away and goes and stands by her colleague. Didn't address me, didn't welcome me to the booth, didn't offer to help me in a single way. At that point, I just turned and I walked right out. If you're not going to be welcoming to somebody who's coming to look at your products, then I'm not going to spend my money with you. Andy and I make an active attempt to welcome everybody that comes in our booth. It may not happen to everyone. We do try, and especially sometimes towards the end of a long day or a long weekend, we get very tired, but we may not always get up if we're sitting down, but we always try to welcome you and tell you that we're available to help in any way possible. And we do hope that that comes along. But I thought that was a very odd observation that I was like, the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? Yeah, not a single... I take that back. There was, I think, one or two other companies, gentlemen in the morning before the market opened, but it wasn't a "can I help you?" It was just a like walking down the aisle, "good morning" type of thing. But any booth that I went into and actually was perusing and looking at stuff, I was not offered a welcome, greeting, or an offer of help. So, gentlemen are knitters too. If you are selling yarn and you're at a yarn show or you're selling products at a knitting event, there are male knitters out there, and they do like to be addressed and welcomed into the community just like anybody else. Anyway, so I did not get anything at Iowa either, but our fairy yarn mother did send us a bunch of donations for prizes for you all, but as always, she is very lovely and offers us first dibs at anything. So I know Mandy got some stuff, but she didn't bring it over for Stash Enhancement, did you?
Oh. No.
She forgot. It's been so long.
Yeah.
Anyway, this called my name. I don't know why, but this is Regia Floromania color, and it's some bright neons that stripe up. So, yeah, that is some bright colors. Guy with the hook just walked by again, but the dogs actually did not wake up or bark at him. But this is some bright neon greens and yellows, and so this will stripe up. They have a pink version there, but you can kind of see. So that's all that I got. So thank you, Fairy Yarn Mother. This will eventually be some socks for Andy or myself. Even Andy picked it up and was like,
I got excited because there was some like self-striping, and now I'm gonna be a sock knitter. Oh my goodness! But I'm like actually excited to.
She was like, "Ooh, I like it." I said, "Keep it." I said, "I think you'll really like it. It's like a dark with pinks and purples and grays and stuff." And
no, I was like, no. And then Andy threw it in my bag.
All right, so that's the only thing in my stash enhancement. All right, we got to give away this episode. So we're going to be giving away Scarves, etc. number 4, which is put out by Quince & Company. Wasn't my phone. I turned it on vibrate. And this has a lot of shawls, scarves of varying degrees. If Knitting Pipeline Paula that I was talking about earlier, she had some of her first designs published in some of the first issues of this, and it's got a lovely photography and a lovely layout. So we are going to be offering this up for giveaway, and in order to be entered to get this copy, you do need to be a member of the Dramatic Knits Ravelry group, and you do need to go over to the thread that I will have up once this episode is up and answer the prompt. Only one post per person, please. And the prompt this episode is, what was/is your favorite job you've ever had? So, whether you're currently living that favorite job or you've had it before, what was or is your favorite job? So, for me, right now, it's doing what I'm doing. My quality of life is amazing. I love being super passionate and creative in what I'm doing. And while I felt like I had that in teaching, it's to a whole new level here. But one of my other favorite jobs, as awkward and new as it was my first job that I ever worked, which was one of those, teenage under-the-table jobs. but I worked for a local costume company, and she was quirky as all get out. But she and Rana was so disorganized. But she would rent and make costumes for people for productions and Halloween and parties, and she also did costume grams. And so I remember when I was 15, I hired her to, she'd do like balloon bouquets and singing costume grams. And I hired her to drive all the way to my mom's work. And she was dressed as a gorilla. I was a chicken, and my best friend at the time was a leopard. And we were sitting in the back of her minivan, and I remember we had to do like a 45-minute drive with tolls. And so, this one time, a chicken, a gorilla, and a leopard went through a toll booth. Sounds like the beginning of a joke, but no, it's serious. And we showed up at my mom's work and sang her happy birthday, and I thought that was a cool job to have. Short-lived, but it was a good connection to have. Starting out in the theater world as a young man, as a young lad. So those are probably my favorite jobs. What about you? Feel free to, you don't have to say this one.
Well, it's the only job I've actually enjoyed. I mean, I will say, I didn't enjoy the job itself, but I worked all through college. I worked in the dining center doing a lot of things, but I met some awesome people they weren't students, but people that worked there for a very long time, and made some good friends with that. But yeah.
Cool. So head on over to the Ravelry group. Go ahead and enter for that, and we'll pull for a winner next episode. All right. I have a book review. We have a book review, even though we haven't looked too much at it. We're going to kind of go through and show you the projects. This has been sitting in our old studio under a pile of paperwork for forever, and I found it when we moved, and I was like, oh my gosh, I should have done a book review for this. But we were sent an advanced reader copy of this due to the fact that our yarns are showcased in it. And that book is Top Down Shawls by Jen Lucas. So I'm excited to kind of do this book review with you and show you some of the projects in here. We've worked with Jen on many projects, and she's designed with our yarn many a time, doing some beautiful things, including the Paulette that you saw at the beginning of the show. We've worked with her on that. But she is the best known for her sock yarn shawl books, and this one is a different take. This is top-down shawls, so where you start in the top middle, and you work your way out. And she's got some beautiful things, and she even signed it, which is cool. I like that. I didn't look to see if... No download code, but that's okay. So this was published in 2018, of course. I believe. I'm not seeing it somewhere. Oh, yeah, up at the top. Put out through Martingale. You can probably find this on Amazon, as well as just searching Top Down Shawls by Jen Lucas. So it's set up. There are 3 to 4 shawls in each section. There's wedge shawls, crescent shawls, half circle shawls, and design your own shawl. So she works with how you can take these shapes. The last one. So there's 12 shawl patterns, and then the last section she takes each shape and explains how you can work and design with them. So the first shawl, it's very botanical in this book, is the Lavandula, and it's an intermediate wedge shape, and it uses 3 skeins of Gems Fingering by Louette, so about 150 yards, 550 yards of fingering weight. So I would say our Diva and or Soliloquy base would be really good out of this one. And, ooh, sorry, I was sitting cross-legged and I moved the table. So look at that. That's really cool. I actually like that one. It's really pretty. Feel free to chime in if you... The nice thing I really like here too is, for designers to be as prolific as they're expected to be anymore, they can't realistically design and knit every single thing that they do. There are some designers out there. We work with Lisa Ross. She's like, I've knit every single thing multiple times of all of her designs. But it says here, designed by the author and then knit by Kathy Rusk. So I like that she really gives credit to the people who actually then take her designs and make them come to fruition in in your own way.
It would be pretty in green. It kind of looks like a leaf on her back.
Like I said, yeah, there's a lot of, I think, there's a very botanical feel throughout this book. The nice thing is they are charted and written directions, so if you have a preference over those two. The next one is called Benicia, and it's an intermediate wedge again, and it calls for One Ball of Opulence by Knit Circus, which is an 80-10-10 superwash merino cashmere nylon, 150 grams, 660 yards. So a lot of these shawls, it seems right now, is you're looking bigger is better in the world of shawls, and most shawls call for 2 or more skeins, so it looks like you're going to be looking at 150 gram skeins, if not more. So again, if you're looking to shop Leading Men Fiber Arts, our Diva and or Soliloquy Base would be really good. So this one kind of has a gradient effect. And it almost has like little butterfly winged in the body of it. I don't know how to put it, but there's some more close-ups. And this is the cover photo of the book. So the nice thing is she gives little tips too with each pattern on how to make it your own. Like this one says, make it your own. You can repeat either chart as many times as you like. Note that changing the number of times you repeat the charts will affect the yardage requirement, however. So she says, hey, if you've got more yarn, go ahead and add more repeats to it. It's totally okay to do that. And she also gives you tips on how to wear the shawls as well. The next one is Kokdama, I would say. There's some interesting names. It's a toss-up sometimes because you want your name to be unique, that there's not 50 of them on Ravelry, you know what I mean? But sometimes you want to make sure you can pronounce them. But I think it's Kokdama, Kokedama. This is again an intermediate wedge, and it uses One Skein of Cloud by Anzula Luxury Fibers, which again is a superwash merino cashmere nylon, 575 yards. And this is the colorway Hibiscus.
I'm kind of in love with the like diamond lace. I might have to do that.
Yeah, that's kind of really cool. I like the stockinette body. You know what I mean? You can get it started and get it set up, and then once you feel accomplished in that, you can kind of go from there and then go join in the lace. The next one is Picara, which is an intermediate wedge. It uses 3 skeins of Shepherd Sport from Lorna's Laces. So about 600 yards of a sport weight. And this one's interesting. You can really see the wedges in this one. Andy's walking back and forth, and he's like, ooh, I can actually leave and do what I need to do and not be in the way, because we're facing the wall, so he's behind you. Turn around! Okay, seriously admit how many of you just turned around. Because I bet you more than one person just turned around. There you go. You're welcome. The next one is Moyashi, which is an intermediate crescent. So we moved into crescent shawls, and this features 2 skeins of Sprout DK from the Fiber Seed, which again is a superwash merino and nylon. So you need about 450 yards of a DK, and that looks like this. I think DK weight shawls can be nice. I don't know if they're my favorite. I don't necessarily like the drape on most weights of DK. The next one is Delicato, maybe? I don't know. Intermediate crescent, and this features 2 skeins of baby silk paca from Malabrigo. So you need about 800 yards of a lace weight. Might want to grab some Ghost Light from our shop to make this one. And this, while not striking out against the tree, I'm sure we have a close-up shot. There we go. Which you can see right there.
Reminds me of Damn Straight.
Well, and what's really nice is there is variegation to this. And while most people tell you, stay away from variegated and lace, there's a difference between a strikingly variegated and a multicolored yarn that you can use. And I think that this one does a decent job of showcasing that.
So, I might be the only one, but I don't know what this is called. But
The yarn weight numbers.
yeah, like the
Little
little
symbol.
symbol. I like that because I don't know if it's just me, but if I ever buy yarn, like cheaper stuff at like Walmart, whatever, sometimes it'll only have that, and I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
But like if it has that, like I don't know. I
Yeah,
kinda
you can
like that.
coordinate that if you're knitting with some more commercial yarns. Yeah, it does have symbols. So it's like this next one's called Digitalis, which is an experience crescent shawl, and it uses 2 skeins of hawthorn from Knit Pick. So again, more friendly options. I like she's using a range of items. This is a superwash Highland wool with nylon and 357 yards in each skein. But she tells you need 700 yards of fingering weight yarn, and then it has the little symbol, yarn ball symbol with a number 1 in there. So here's what Digitalis looks like in its beauty shot. And I will say Jen Lucas does amazing with lace. She is very talented in that realm. So the next one's called Fiddleheads, and I like it because it's green. This is an intermediate crescent shawl using 2 skeins of Cashlux Fine from Sweet Georgia Yarns. You need about 750 yards of a fingering weight. And there's some of the beauty shots. I do have to say crescent shaped shawls are not my favorite just because I feel like they're limited wearability. I don't feel like they look as great, though if you look at this one, she looks alright. I feel like whenever I try to put on a crescent shawl like that, kerchief style, it tends to look like a big ruffled bib on me. The next one, ooh, it's a textured shawl. I should have done vocal warm-ups. By the way, there's still plenty to talk about, so don't go anywhere. If you need to take a potty break, feel free to press pause at any time. The next one is called Struttura. You can Struttura all over the place in this shawl. This is an intermediate half circle, so we've moved into half circles. And this is 2 skeins of Yellowstone from Stitch Sprouts, which is a merino silk, shown in the Steamboat Geyser colorway, but you need about 550 yards of a sport weight. So not all lace. There's a little bit of eyelet lace in there, but then you get some more of a textured shawl in that one. The next one is called Barthalt.
That's fun.
And this is using a variegated yarn. Actually, I think it's using 2 different. Oh no, it's a transitioning yarn. Okay. It's an intermediate half circle featuring 1 ball of frolicking feet, transitions from Dun Roving Yarns, and 480 yards of a fingering weight. There's the modeled shots. The next one is Speranthus, which is an intermediate half circle featuring 1 skein of Diva from Leading Men Fiber Art. So this is the yarn, the shawl that features our yarn. It uses 600 yards. Diva is 600 yards. It uses about 530 yards of a fingering weight. So you could also probably use our monologue base, which is 523. So that might also be a good option for you. But this is in the colorway Saffron. And there's some modeled shots of it. And then the next one is Nymanthus, or Nymans. Sorry, the font they use is a little hard to read. This is an intermediate half circle, and it uses 4 skeins of superwash DK from Sweet Georgia Yarns. You need about 850 yards of a DK weight. So this is probably a nice sizable shawl. We'll see in the next picture when it's worn, won't we? we've got our production assistant over here. So yeah, you can see this kind of comes down a bit more than some of the smaller shawls. This is a beautiful color though. And then we go into designing on your own and how to take yarn weights and yardages into effect and what's needle size to use, how to create the wedge shape. She gives you different stitch patterns to incorporate and how to work that into that shape. And then you work into crescent shawls, and she's got different, again, lace panels and how to work that in the charts into your different things. So I think that's really cool. That's a neat thing. You know, most people want to be like, no, I designed it. I want to keep my integrity and my rights to it. But why not share the thought process behind it and give people the tools to go out there and run and be on their own? And you know what? If you've got that design bug, go for it. That's what I think. Special techniques, it's got some easy photo tutorials in the back. And there's Jen, who does no longer looks exactly like this. She has kind of chopped off her hair and done a little faux hawk thing going on, and she's rocking that fabulously. She is Jen Lucas Designs, I believe Jen Lucas Designs on Instagram. If you are not following her, you should. She also does a Patreon where each month her patrons who donate get to decide what type of design they want her to design just for them the next month. And so then she takes that into account and she makes a design available only to them for a certain amount of time that comes out every month. So I know like one month she used our yarn, our sport weight, and they wanted a shawl with an applied lace edging. And she's like, all right, I'll have that for you next month. And then the people who donate to her and help keep, you know, her funding going for designing and doing things get access to that pattern for a certain amount of time before it's open to the public, right? Yes, okay. So thank you so much, Jen, for sending us that advanced reader copy. I'm so sorry that took so long, but hopefully you will go out and check out Top Down Shawls by Jen Lucas. Again, you can search on Amazon or do a Google search and find out and check if your local yarn store has that in. Okay, moving right along into, and I'm out of something to drink, our new segment, Inside the Knitter's Studio. So, as we were hoping to do, and I've been hoping to do for years, we wanted to do a Q&A episode for our Podiversary. We have been in production for 8 years. Dramatic Knits has been around. While it started out with just me, we were joined by Callie for many years as our co-host. And while life has taken Callie down to St. Louis and we can no longer record in person, my sister, who is a newer knitter, has joined the reins here in the past 6 months and has really just gone gangbusters in the world of crafting. And so we're excited to kind of let you get refreshed and get to know us a little better through questions, or if you have specific questions about techniques or patterns or anything under the sun, as long as it's reasonable. We're a pretty open book. Go ahead and post those in our Q&A episode thread on Ravelry in the Dramatic Knits group, and we'll continually work through those. So hopefully this will be a continuing segment. All right, the first question, the first post of questions was about 4 questions, so I took the first one. And the question was, what is your favorite knitting project of all time? And I really had to sit down and think about this, and while I wanted to really go through all of my past projects, did not get time to do that today. But yeah, so that's our question for this episode. So I'm going to let her decide because she hasn't seen this question.
Oh, I read it and knew immediately.
Okay, so what was yours? Because I'll...
Well, I mean, being a new knitter, I haven't had many projects, but the one that stands out immediately was my very first large project, and it made me want to like knit more and basically got me here today. But that was the Lamina wrap, which is
by Ambo O'Brien.
Yeah, but it's currently on the road with them. But
it is. That might actually be in the bin over there, but it might not be. But it gets a lot of attention, and people are like, that was one of her first projects? And we're like, yes, it was.
Yeah. When I went to YarnCon last year. I don't remember what month it was.
April.
April.
Ooh, remind me to talk to you about that when we're done.
I walked around, and in the Black Cat booth, they had a couple samples up, but I kept staring at the
Lumina.
no, the pattern, because I was walking around YarnCon to just look at patterns to get ideas, and I kept staring at it. I kept going back to it, and I asked him and blah blah blah. So I ended up buying the pattern, and that day.
We're sorry.
Uh-huh.
Hook hand just walked by. Again, he's like now pacing our store. And he is wearing a red line trench coat.
Yeah.
And he has a fancy hat on now.
Might look better with my Lumina. But he ended up kind of helping me pick out the yarn for it that day, and I think that got me really excited, and I fell in love with the color combo that we
decided on.
put together, which you can buy.
Yeah, I need to dye more of them because we're completely sold out of the gradient that she named and put together. So, which is called Singing in the Garrison. But I'm going to be dyeing more of that this week because everybody loves it.
But yeah, it's gorgeous, and it was a lot of lace. And I want to say I had maybe 1 or 2 mistakes in it. I was really proud. And yeah, so that was my favorite. We love it. I think about it a lot. So
I can narrow it down to 3 for 3 different reasons. So most recent is the adventurer wrap that I'm currently knitting, just because I love the look of it and I'm actually enjoying knitting on it. My most favorite in terms of finished object of wow, I really did it, was my Even Star shawl that took me about 9 months, had 3,000 beads on it, and was a lot of lace that I used no lifelines. So that was the one that I was like, wow, I did that. And I didn't know what to get in what I was getting into when I agreed to do it as a knit along with somebody, and I think they didn't get very far with it, but I was like, you know what, I started it, I'm gonna finish it. And one of my first projects is one of my favorites, and that was some colorwork music note mittens, fingerless mitts that I did. I'd never done colorwork before. I'd never learned how to knit with 2 hands. I literally picked up and dropped the yarn for every stitch, which I actually prefer. I don't prefer how much longer it takes, so I do knit with 2 hands when I do colorwork anymore, just because it is quicker. But it was done with black and white, and it had a treble clef and a bass clef on the fingerless mitts, and it was for one of my college best friends, and I loved how they turned out and what I could do with knitting. Again, kind of how she talked about one of her first projects that motivated her to go on to the next project. So those were those music note mitts were my favorite as a newer project to kind of motivate me in knitting. So yeah. So there's that. All right, so let's go into, thank you for joining us, by the way, for that new segment. Hopefully you enjoy it. Go on over, ask some questions over there. We have a good deal of questions to get through before we get to those, but we'll always encourage you to ask the questions. Round of applause. We have some yarn to give away from last episode's giveaway, and that is some Spudding Chloe's sweater. 2.5 skeins, 1.5 in black and 1 in white. And the prompt last episode was, do you prefer talking over the phone or face-to-face? And the winner of that was number 73, who is CM Jans, and that is Carolyn from Wisconsin. And she said she prefers face-to-face. You can't see expressions and body language over the phone. And I completely agree with you, Carolyn. I do love emailing. I prefer emailing way over than talking on the phone. But I do feel like there's a lot of misconceptions in emailing, even more than over the phone, because you not only don't have body language, you also do not have tonality in the voice over email and text. So, but congratulations, Carolyn. If you would, please email me on Ravelry Dramatic Knits with your first and last name, mailing address, and email address, and I will get that out to you as soon as possible. So, congratulations. All right, next up, we have our February Race to the Finished Object contest. So we have 2 prizes for that, and that is a thread. We have it open every month where you can post any of your finished objects, no matter what you've finished, into that thread, and that gets you an entry into our drawing. We always do a physical prize as well as a pattern prize from our featured designer. So that being said, March's thread is open, so if you finish anything in the month of March, go over there, post a picture. Each post is each finished object is a different post, get you an entry into our drawing. So this month's winner is some Mimi by Lotus Yarns, which is 100% mink. It is 300 meters and 50 grams, and you get 2 hanks of that. And the winner of that is number 123, and that is Mommy 2, and she did some groove socks. So congratulations to Mommy 2. Please get in contact with me, again, Dramatic Knits, with your first and last name, mailing address, and email address, and I will get that shipped out to you as soon as possible. Our pattern prize comes to number 192, and that is Knit Princess 83, and that is Delia from Texas, and she did some knitted knockers. So congratulations, Delia. You win a pattern prize from our featured designer, who is Susie White, also known as Prairie Girl Susie. And so if you will check out her designer page, and if you need help with that, we have her designer page linked on our show notes, which can be found at dramaticknits.com. Let me know which one of her giftable patterns you would like, and I'll let Susie know, and she will gift that to you. And you, again, just email that to me at your convenience. All right, we talked about Marches, so anything you finish this month, go on and enter over there. All right, we're going to move into center stage, all things Leading Men Fiber Arts. I promise to be somewhat quick, so stick with us for just a few more minutes, and we'll promise to have you out of here within an hour and a half episode. All right, the Leading Men Fiber Arts Retreat, Knitting at the Estate. Things are still moving, so if you are on the wait list, please hold on. You may have a good chance of getting in. That being said, if you'd like to come to the Knitting at the Estate retreat and you did not originally sign up, no worries. We have 5 spots currently available on leadingmenfiberarts.com for off-site accommodations. So it is a much cheaper price. What that means is you get everything included in the retreat other than your lodging. You are responsible for booking and paying for your own lodging. There are 2 cheaper motels in the town that we are staying in, or you can drive about 30 minutes away and get some of your more higher-end hotels if you choose. And that's going to be in Champaign, Illinois. The retreat is in Monticello. So I know some people have questioned, too, about flying in. You're probably going to want to look at either Champaign, which is about a half hour away, or Bloomington, Illinois, which is about an hour away. Either one of those, and then you might be able to, I know Bloomington you can rent a car. Assuming Champaign you probably would be able to too. If you have not joined the Knitting at the Estate Ravelry group and you are attending, or you just want to stay up to date in what's going on in the world of the retreat, please come on over. Again, that's Knitting at the Estate on Ravelry. We do have a current thread that's hopping and a-going that's being led by Denise D.G. White. She's so amazing and generously donated her time and talents to running a hat drive for Operation Chemo Comfort, which, as you know, if you're a longtime viewer, we do a hat drive for them in the fall every year. And Denise wanted to kind of take the charge to raise even more hats on behalf of Dramatic Knits and Leading Men Fiber Arts by doing a hat drive for the retreat. So I think we're already up to almost 40 hats, if not more, that people have pledged to bring and donate. So if you are attending the retreat, go on over there, and there are prizes and things that you can get, extra door prize tickets for donating hats as well. Again, movement is happening. We do have people who cannot attend, and we are offering spots to those people as they arise. If you are interested and you are attending the retreat, we will be sending out emails here shortly about if you want to be a vendor. We'll have a limited amount of tables on Saturday afternoon in the library area, which people can set up their wares and sell. We are offering that to attendees only at this moment, but we will see how that turnout is, and we may offer to some local artists here in the future. We are also going to be sending out door prize donation requests and sponsorship opportunities to certain companies. If you have a business that you would like to get your products out there and get your, get your name out there and seen by 75 people, 80 people, please get in contact with me. You can email us at knittingattheestate@gmail.com so that we can keep that connected to the retreat, and let us know if you'd like to donate anything and what that is, and we'll give you our address where that can be shipped. All right, we do want to show you next month's colorway. If you would grab one skein, please. It is up available on the website right now for pre-order, and that is leadingmenfiberarts.com. And that colorway is called Nevermore, and it is inspired by the iridescence of a raven's wing. And here it is. So this is it on Showstopper, and it blends forest green, amethyst, and a twilight gray, and makes a beautiful variegated color. And it has been very, very popular. So thank you so much. Pre-orders are up for this for not only every base of yarn that we carry, but also sock sets in the shop through the 8th. So you have about 5 more days to get your pre-order in there. All pre-orders will ship out by the middle of the month. And yeah. If your local yarn store does carry our monthly subscription, they should have those in hand, our stockists, and you can check those out at their shop now. Upcoming shows. This weekend, we are going to be doing a trunk show at Village Yarn Company in Noblesville, Indiana. And Katie is a lovely owner of that shop, and we had a great time last fall at her shop. So we knew before we even left that evening that we wanted to book another trunk show with her. And we had set that date for this Saturday, March 9th, which is the final weekend of the, I believe, Northern Indiana, or like Indianapolis Yarn Crawl. It's some sort of yarn crawl, and you get some really great deals. So if you want to participate in that and or come out and see us, we will have a bunch of yarn with us, including our new non-superwash bases. Again, that's Village Yarn Company in Noblesville, Indiana, this Saturday, March 9th. I want to say from about 10 to 5, but somewhere around there. Then the following weekend, we will be going out to Pittsburgh for the first time for the Pittsburgh Knit and Crochet Festival. Again, I'll be teaching a boomerang class that Saturday around lunchtime. If you want to sign up for that, you can do so on their website, which is linked on our show notes. But the festival itself is Friday, March 15th through Sunday, March 17th in Pittsburgh, PA at the Doubletree Hotel and Conference Center. And we're super excited to be attending that retreat for the first time. So if you're out in the Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh area, come on out and say hi and visit our booth, and we'd love to see you there. So we hope you'll give us a warm welcome there in the PA. So those are our upcoming shows. Due to the fact that we will be out there through Sunday, we will probably not be recording until Monday or Tuesday of that week, but it should be around 2 weeks, just a little bit over, before we see each other again. So before I make this one fall asleep with all the talking that I'm doing, she's wants to go play with her dogs, I think. And we're going to leave you to go do your crafting.
Did you notice that? He said her dogs.
Until we see you again in a couple of weeks, we hope you
knit something
dramatic.